Welcome. Very warm welcome to everyone into the Sangha Live session, and hopefully you're feeling well, settling in well. So this week we're exploring change, and once again, those of you perceptive will have noticed that my background has changed. I've unintentionally incorporated quite a lot of change into this week. When I was liaising with the Sangha Live team, I said, well, I'd love to do the daily meditations and I can make them fit, but I will be a little bit on the move. I've come over now. I'm in Israel and Palestine to spend a bit of time, hopefully contributing to a more peaceful and harmonious existence for people. That's what I try to do with my life. But yes, it does mean that different backgrounds, things are changing. Who would have thought it? So yeah, my name is Nathan. I'm an insight meditation teacher, and I'm here to guide the sessions this week. So if you're popping in for the first time, very warm welcome from me. If you're very familiar with these places, then perhaps you can offer me a warm welcome in return. It's not my place. I guess it's not your place. It's our place to come into, to explore together. And it's a real privilege and pleasure to be here with you. If you haven't already, really feel invited to say hello in the chat. I can certainly say it's really heartwarming to tune in and see that. And in this changing, unfolding, perhaps unpredictable world that we live in, it's nice to know you can come in to Sangha Live, and there's a good chance you'll look into the chat and see something beautiful, delightful, community building, and real happiness giving. So do feel invited to say hello. It's a lovely, welcoming community. We'd love to hear from you in there. I'd love to hear where you are, how you are. It's quite a precious and important part of these practices is the cultivation of community, and a real deep bow to Sangha Live for putting Sangha right there in the title. Community coming together in a moment of being alive and tuning in together. So enjoying that, resting into that. Well, there's a lot to cover today. Again, we want to talk about change. There's all kinds of interesting things to say about change and noticing how things change. And then we'll have a meditation, lightly guided, to explore these ideas. And then we can open out again into any kind of questions, reflections that come from these practices together. So let's go into it. Yesterday, we were exploring the how in the sentence, notice how all conditioned things change. Okay, and that how, little review, reminder for us, and perhaps catch up for those who may have missed it. When we released the contraction, we could see that things flowed more. And perhaps when things flowed more, we saw a release of the push and pull on those things. We may not notice it, but we actually wish for things to bring lasting satisfaction. It's like, maybe this will do it for me, right? And seeing how changing things are and kind of implies that those things actually can't bring life, lasting anything, and we kind of release. And why I say lasting anything, not just lasting satisfaction, they actually can't bring lasting dissatisfaction, could they? Right? Because they're going to move, right? So in a moment, there'll be something else. In a moment, this thing will be something else in some kind of way. Its definition of what it is dependent on changing conditions. Again, we're going to speak a bit more today about conditions. But let's just keep going with this explanation, right? When there's that, it's not going, this doesn't make sense to grasp onto, push and pull onto this thing. We actually release that, and there's a further release of the contraction, and there's a further release of the reactivity. We start to develop this positive cycle, okay? Contraction is dukkha, push and pull reactivity is dukkha, and they build further dukkha. And interestingly, they also fixate on things and kind of fix things in a more rigid lens. Okay, it's all related. It all builds up into dukkha and it all dissolves back down from dukkha. Right? So seeing change is liberating. When there's less dukkha, things change. And when things change, there is less impulse to react to them in ways that create dukkha. Dukkha, stress, distress, agitation, that whole feeling that life is hard to bear, experience is hard to bear, this is going to be hard to bear. No, but it's not going to last. Oh, yeah. I could release the contraction. Oh, yeah. Things open. Okay. Interestingly, it actually goes deeper in a certain way than dukkha and anicca. The inconstancy, impermanence is anicca. Come on to that word a little bit later. But it's change there for us. Yeah, so it goes deeper than seeing stress, seeing change. We're actually seeing how the appearance of things is not independent of the state of the body, contractedness, or the state of awareness, the tightness, the narrowness and attention, that contraction, or the activity of the self and the mind in that reactivity or in that release. And here we can use a lovely phrase: everything leans. Everything leans. Nothing stands alone. And that is what we call conditioned. Experience is conditioned. So remember, in that phrase, notice how all conditioned things change. Okay, so also notice that all things are conditioned. What it means for things to be conditioned. Sometimes we speak boldly of unconditional love, or I was given an unconditional offer, or they made an unconditional surrender, or other things. That kind of absolutism in language. In the Dharma I practice, we try to be a bit more cautious about the words we use, and cautious in the concepts that we hold, dependent on those words that we use. Unconditional, experience. I mentioned yesterday that the Buddha didn't take this stance on self or not self. Very, very precise language if you tune into the Buddha. Very, very accurate. And teachers that I've really admired and have really influenced me have often spoken in ways that's they have a real precision without losing a sense of poetry. And the Buddha was a great poet, as actually we're going to see in a moment. I think the Buddha was a great poet. Everything that appears is conditioned by something, okay, impacted by something. Some people will speak about, the Dharma in terms of speaking about causes. What's the cause of suffering? The cause of suffering is push and pull, reactivity, demand, craving, these kind of things. I find it much more helpful, and I find the teachers that I follow, seem to speak in this way, to speak more about conditions. It's conditioned to be this way, conditioned to be that way. Lee Bradington gives this lovely example of the light bulb and the light switch. If we flick the light switch, the light bulb comes on. If we flick it the other way, the light bulb goes off. But is the light switch the cause of the light bulb? Well, no, it's like it's allowing a flow of other conditioned things to allow the electricity to go into the bulb, which somehow, lights the filaments or whatever it is these days that's in light bulbs that allows them to brighten up, agitate the, I don't know, atoms, ions, molecules, whatever's going on there. Amazing. Light appears. But it's not caused by the light switch, and it's not caused by me flicking the light switch. But that is a necessary condition, because if the light switch is in the wrong position, then the electricity doesn't flow. Okay, so then we say contraction conditions dukkha, push-pull reactivity conditions dukkha. Yeah, we could say it causes it, but that might not be so helpful. Ultimately. So just that kind of clarity around the language. That's what we mean by condition. And when that condition is there, we notice, if I withdraw that condition, if I dampen down, if I release that condition, that thing that it conditions will change. And just as the light switch. Yeah? If you don't turn on the light switch and no one else turns on the light switch, the light's not going to turn on. Otherwise, whatever, something spooky's going on. So our experience is a conditioned perception of reality. Feels like reality, feels unconditional. Well, it's just reality as it is. But experience, as we've been seeing, depends on what and how we bring our attention to experience. So what we actually attend to are appearances, conditioned appearances. And things only appear to us when the conditions are aligned for it to appear that way. Okay? If we change the conditions, the contraction, the push-pull, things change. If we bring in the idea, oh, this will change, that's a different condition than the idea, oh, this is going to last. This could do it for me. So when we find a necessary condition for something, we also find a way to turn it around. When we understand what are the conditions that leads to this being dukkha, yeah, the how in the Buddha's Four Noble Truths, the second noble truth. First one, there is suffering. Second one, what are the conditions for this to be like this? Or another way of saying it, when it's like this, what else is there? What else can we notice that is reliably showing up when there's dukkha? Ah, the contraction, the push-pull, the reactivity. Well, what if you don't do that? Have you thought about that? Maybe you shouldn't do that, yeah? So we're diagnosing, in a sense, our experience by looking for the other conditions that are there, that are typically there, or that teachers, wise beings, saints, sages have said, you know, have you noticed this is also here? So the Buddha says that thirsting onto experience. And what that means is the phenomena of our experience, the appearances. Phenomena is appearances from in the Greek. Phenomena, the appearance of things in the heart mind reveal our world. And when our heart's condition changes, the world's condition changes with it. Citta, the heart, the mind. You know, it's sometimes we use heart, sometimes you use mind, sometimes you use heart mind. If you're feeling, you know, like, so people are going to understand what you mean when you hyphenate heart mind together. That collective, that making of the worlds is made in the heart mind. And so when we notice change, that changes everything, because it changes the heart mind, and that's where the world is known. The world appears. I don't know if you're familiar with this. There's a lovely collection of sayings of the Buddha, very, very pithy, very accessible, almost kind of the haiku of these enormous, immense teachings. You can just dive in and grab one. The Dhammapada. Yeah. Phenomena are preceded by the heart, ruled by the heart, made of the heart. Yes, verse 1 of the Dhammapada. What a way to leap in. Phenomena, appearances are preceded by the heart, ruled by the heart, made of the heart. Just a brief note. I noticed a couple of people raise their hands. I'm not sure if that's by accident, but put something in the chat if there's something going on for you. Hopefully sound's reaching you all right, vision's reaching you all right. I can see some people are responding to some of the things I'm saying. So hopefully that's working. Okay. There's quite a lot in this statement, quite a lot to chew on. Okay, so the appearance of things are preceded by their heart. Okay, more people are raising their hands. I'm not sure if this is this a bug or a feature? I don't know. I'm really sorry if you're trying to, you know, get my attention. I'm not quite sure what it means to raise your hand at this point in the session. So put it in the chat if you have something about that. All right. So I know what I'm talking about is possibly sounds really weird. Okay. So what do we mean in this stanza about preceded, ruled, and made? Okay. So phenomena, the experience of the world, the appearances of the world are preceded by the heart. The heart comes first. Heart comes first. It defines what appears, and where it appears is the heart. Right? So the state of the heart shapes the way that things appear. Right? When you're feeling sad, the world appears through that lens. Yeah. And it kind of defines what appears by the kind of concepts, the ideas that we have about the things. Right? Things depend on the ideas that we have about them. Oh, this is going to last. No, this is going to change. The made of the heart bit might be like a bit of a leap for us. That sounds wild and outrageous. But if we step back and ask, where is the world we experience? And I'm not trying to be, late night, or we're all a bit chilled out and we're thinking about, the meaning of existence, but not just where we project the world to be, because we kind of project a world around us, inside us, but where is it actually happening? This world, including me talking to you now, is in your consciousness. And your consciousness is a dependently arising, conditioned aspect of your knowing, your being, right? So Sangha Live is happening in your being, in your mind, in your heart, in your consciousness in this moment. Now, we're going to keep to the Buddha's rule of only asking questions that lead to the end of dukkha. So we're not going to be saying, is this a simulation? Is this mind only? Is there nothing outside of this? No, that's not that. What we're saying is, if you see it this way, if you understand it this way, then it actually leads to different, more skillful ways of acting. And maybe I'll just speak the second of one of these stanzas. Yeah. So this is from the Dhammapada, verse 1. Maybe someone can pop that in the chat if they know how to write Dhammapada. Otherwise, I'll put it in later. If you speak or act with a corrupted heart, then suffering follows you as the wheel of the cart, the track of the ox that pulls it. So corrupted, distorted, and if you speak with a calm, bright heart, speak or act, see, experience. So to act is also to perceive, to experience with a calm, bright heart. Then happiness follows you like a shadow that never leaves. So if we can frame, adjust, encourage, open, brighten, calm, delight the heart, the mind, then we will see a world with more wisdom, with more understanding, and we will act in that way. And we will see and act. We will look clearly and closely. We see a world of changing, ungraspable things. And we don't grasp onto those things. We release, we release, we release. So we're bringing an insight of change. An insight of change, and that changes things. The insights are liberating ways of perceiving. Right? Would we chase those things when we see that they don't last? Right? So we imagine this world of lasting things, and we will, what the Buddha there called corrupted, or the translator, interpreted as corrupted. It grasps onto it. It cheats. It tries to keep. It tries to stock up. Yeah, maybe we share with near and dear the pleasant things of life. We chase away. We fight. We reject the unpleasant, and we chase past the neither nor, things. So it's interesting, we can actually then bring this as a practice. We can note as a practice, this will change. Whatever we've grabbed onto, whatever we've gotten tight around, this will change. Change. Just that one word, change. Just reminding ourselves, changing. Maybe we make it a verb, yeah? Changing. It's changing. I may not see it, but it must be changing. It's inconstant. It's impermanent, whatever that is. And just gently, inwardly noting, if we understand the Pali means something to us, anicca, inconstant, inconstancy, impermanence, changing, usually just one word, just dropping that in, and we're starting to spread that insight into our consciousness. Okay, that's the idea for this practice today. It's just like dropping that in. You don't have to keep saying it, but when we notice, particularly we grabbed onto something, it's changing. And just see if that little word does something for us. I find it really helpful if we really feel into what that word means. Yeah, it's not just the word has a magic to it. The word does have a magic to it, but because of its meaning. So it's almost like there could be that sense of the flow of a river. You can't step into the same river twice. I can't remember the Greek philosopher who was saying that. You go there, you're different. the river's different. Yeah, you're a flow. This experience is flowing through, changing. Of course, anything here that seems graspable can't be. Release, release. Yeah. Okay, so let's see if this does something for us in a meditation together. So thank you to those who are putting the words of the Dhammapada into there. Really, let's just concentrate on phenomena are preceded by the heart, ruled by the heart, made of the heart. That's Thanissaro Bhikkhu Ajahn Jeff's translation for today. Okay, so settle into a posture for a bit of practice together. Feel what's going to be the right posture for noticing change. Standing, reclining, walking, sitting. We can start with tuning into the body. Maybe it's immediately accessible to us to notice there's a whole body here. We can notice if there's any areas of tension. That's going to change. You might take the opportunity to change, contribute to change by just rolling out, shaking out shoulders, letting them come to a more freeing, fluid position. Letting out, releasing out the belly. Sometimes the holding of tension in the body is also part of what holds things in attention. A sense of contraction. Tuning into the body, also including the back of the body. I like to have the sense as I meditate that it's like I'm running a little experiment or performing a series of magical tricks, whichever mood I'm in. Oh yeah, what if I pay attention to the back of the body? Will that change anything? Oh yeah, changes some things. When we tune into the breathing, notice this is the way the breath is already. If I know from experience, perhaps the breathing, the breath may feel more easeful, more comfortable, things would flow more easily. If the breath was given more time, it's not that I have to move more breath, I'm taking longer over the breath, and perhaps the breath is also able to come deeper. As I said before, we don't have to come into the body, into the breath, if it's not the right place for us, if the sounds are more supportive. And sounds is a wonderful area to work with in the relationship of change. So is the body. Really equally great in that regard. But if the body doesn't feel right, we can still do so much of our practice in that field of sound, letting that field of sound be rich with awareness, the whole field known, right to the most distant sounds, right to the most quiet sounds. In the body, the whole of the body, the back, right down to the feet, up above, in front, the sides, the whole body, and interior of the body. Being with the next 3 breaths, real sensitivity, interest for what we're listening to, for what we're experiencing, sensing. Notice what you notice in this moment. Notice how it is in this moment. How is the heart-mind? Does it feel contracted? Does it feel expansive? Does the heart-mind, awareness, attention feel agitated? Is there restlessness in the body? Or dullness in the body? This might be conditioning our experience in a particular way that might not be so helpful. There's some way we can breathe, some way we can listen, more spaciousness, more ease, more of the in-breath, brightening, more of the out-breath, calming. We can aim towards that calm, bright mind. Calm, bright mind. And breathe with it, listen to it, listen through it. In a moment, I'm going to invite us to bring that insight of change through the noting in our experience. But first, we really want to make sure that we've done what we can to prepare the soil, so to speak, of the heart mind to plant this insight into. And We might think in this moment, it's almost like we're transplanting quite a mature plant. So unlike a seed, where maybe we scatter the seeds around, just know that some of them will make it. We've got this mature, precious insight. We want to prepare the conditions, just really releasing, relaxing any contraction, not pushing ahead into a future moment, not dragging back, resisting, being here in our lived bodily or sonic experience, sounds, the body sphere. The next 3 breaths, really getting to notice the quietness of the arising of the in-breath, into that stillness, out to that flow, out into stillness, in again. So the next 3 breaths, enjoying. And then just resting. Notice if anything in attention feels like it's lingering for longer. It can be pleasant or unpleasant. Probably means the condition of the heart mind, there's some contracting around that thing. We just come towards that phenomena, that appearance. If it's lingering around long enough, give it some space. It's not a problem, it's something that maybe just needs more space. It could be an ache. It doesn't need the squeeze of attention, the holding in attention. But with a real sense of meaningfulness, noticing, noting, this is changing. You may not see it, it's changing. Allowing it to change. Giving more space if it needs more space, so to speak, space in attention, space in awareness, endless space. Space behind you if you're ever looking for any. This is changing, it's dynamic, it's fluid, it's flowing, anicca, inconstant, impermanent, non-permanent. Notice how the phenomena, the appearance of this changes. We only know the appearance of things, preceded by the heart, made of the heart. Breathing with it if that's helpful for sustaining the attention. Otherwise, we can just observe the dissipation, the unfolding of change. Applying more space, applying more insight, accordingly, changing. Of course it's changing, and it will be changing on subtler levels than we initially notice. Things may fade, but we're not doing this to get rid of anything. There's no aversion in here. Things are welcome to stay, welcome to go. Nothing contains lasting dissatisfaction or satisfaction. It's transitory. Sometimes the primary thing we notice changing is our mindfulness is changing, fleeting around, drawn into other stories and things. But that's also fine. You can notice that. Yeah, this also changes. Maybe don't want to invest all of my happiness in being focused. It also changes. Coming back to the breath, coming more fully into the breath experience or the listening experience, settling the heart mind. Leave the insight practice aside for now. So much goodness comes from settling in, experiencing more deeply. Definitely going to notice change. And again, if something sticks around, particularly for now, body sensation, if we're working with sounds, any particular sound that's there a lot, really tuning in. Can be really helpful with a sense of the problematic, but also the sense of overlooked, the sense of even delightful. This will change. It allows it to become more subtle, more refined, more interest can deepen into that. And it's quite a release in that release of demand. It can be a beautiful joy at times. things are changing. With a rich sense of meaningfulness to what it means to say that this is changing, this is fluid, dynamic, and bring it to the breath, to all of the sounds, or any body sensation that's passing through. Wherever it is that we're familiar with practicing, really having a sense there's nothing here lasting. Maybe there's nothing here worth grasping onto or rejecting. A flow through. Notice how it is to realize a sense of being a flow through of experience. Everything in the heart, mind, body is flowing through. And it's shaped, conditioned by the condition of this body, heart, mind. which is also flowing through, changing. Letting go of the sides of experience and flowing. In this flowing through. Feeling how meditation changes us, changes our view, changes how we feel, and hopefully also changes how we act. May this practice we do together be for the welfare and benefit of all beings, everywhere, including ourselves. Bringing this practice to a close or not coming all the way out if we wish. And we'll come into a communal space. Of course, you're always free to continue practicing. If there's something particularly that you're appreciating, enjoying, that's opening, releasing for you. Thank you so much for your practice here. It's really beautiful, really delightful always to come here and practice with you, with this community. I really delight in it. And I hope that what we're exploring today is lovely, is beautiful, is delightful, is opening things. And I really wasn't joking about the fact or saying it lightly that this really can open a sense of joy. And I can speak a little bit about that. I also just want to say we need to be sensitive to our emotional response as well, because it can actually feel, yeah, I don't like that everything's changing. I don't like that certain things are changing. Certainly, as I said, we can, open to that a little bit more in the discussion. It's like everything isn't going to last. But those things are precious to me. Those things are important to me, and it comes up to that level of ill health or death and grief and all of that. It's like, yeah, that's part of this package as well, of course. So yeah, we can certainly talk about that. We might feel happy, sad, indifferent to change at different times, depending on the Vedana, depending on the the feeling tone of those things, depending on the mood in the mind at that time. Yeah, all those things happen, and as we can see with that lovely translation, the phenomena, the appearance of things really are preceded, ruled, and made of the heart, made of that. Wow. Yeah. Very, 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 very profound, very, very who knows the full depth of that thing. So I'm just going to put the name, if I can, of Thanissaro Bhikkhu, whose translation we're using today, into the chat. I'll try and remember to pass that on to the team so that they can see that. So I put that in a reply to Fergus's question. If that's closed, I think you just click on it and you'll see the reply. What was I saying? Yes. So this can also be joyful, right? So there's also that positive thing. So why would that happen? I don't know. But it feels to me, it's almost like we blocked up our experience because we're saying, well, I've got to get this way. I've either got to get it for me, get it for someone else, move it in those directions. So that kind of blocks it up. It's almost like leaves over a drain. And we're actually saying, but it's changing. Come on. I mean, it's all just changing, and it starts to change more. And it's almost like we're pulling those leaves out of that drain, which was actually holding back that flow of delight, of beauty, of happiness. And just in that, it's like, wow, quite a big shift, right? We might be used to, it feels better after I meditate. I feel more calm. I feel more relaxed, whatever. Sometimes dropping in these insights is really just like, just pull that out of the thing. Take a handful of leaves out and gush, whoosh. This feeling of like, wow, it's lovely. It's not that the practice is causing that. It's removing a condition. It's removing a condition for a deeper sense of well-being. And these are teachings, practicings of delight. We can get delighted by our practice at times. Yeah. Great. So it's lovely. I can see there's a good, tough, and challenging question from Clive around the use of the word truths in here. Yeah. So I think I heard you point out yesterday that the Buddha was not so interested in whether something was true or not true. His teachings focused on lessening dukkha. So why do we talk of the Noble Truths? Are they not true? Is this a translation issue? So no, I shouldn't have said that the Buddha was not interested in something as true or not. If I did say that, I would say I'm not that interested in whether things are true or not, and I don't find that a useful paradigm in the way that we normally hold it. But what I was saying is that this view of anicca, where it appears in the teachings, is it's not offered as this is the truth of things. There are places where people have translated something, and as far as I know, and as far as I teach like Thanissaro Bhikkhu, who I listen to and respect as someone who translates the Pali, is saying it just never exists, that he says there are these three characteristics of existence. There are these three marks of existence. It's much more that they're saying this is a way of looking at life that frees us up from dukkha. Yeah. So what I was saying is that the Buddha sidesteps the questions of like, so what's true here? Is there a self? Is there not a self? Those kinds of things, right? And actually says, well, if we hold this view, what does that do? Okay, so there's a pragmatism which supersedes the sense of truth claims as I read the teachings. I'm not going to say that the Buddha wasn't interested in what's true. I think that the Buddha was interested in what's true, but didn't then say, well, this is true and this is true and this is true and this is true. But actually what you can say is that experience depends on the conditions that are there. And, they are saying as a truth claim, phenomena are preceded by the heart, preceded by the mind, right? Now that's something that is said, which is true of experience. Are there things separate from experience which are then true? Well, everything changes. No, phenomena change, and phenomena change when we look at them as changing. When we don't look at them as changing, they also change, but they change into a way of being more fixed and rigid and things. So how phenomena appear, and what we can say about reality is that we have a perception of reality, and the more that we dig into that, the deeper we understand perception. I don't know what it really says about reality. Yeah, reality outside of perception is not perceived, it's not known by us, and there isn't really a lot we can say about that. So making things outside of that realm, for me, don't make any sense at all. I don't know what we mean when we say, well, this is true and true all of the time. It depends on the conditions. It depends on how our experience is. And our experience is what we have. Yeah. And that's what I'm interested in freeing up, in liberating. I had a conversation with my father one time. I was doing a course about changing our sense of time. And he said to me, yeah, but you're speaking about all of this kind of thing. I was speaking about experiential time, what we might call emotional time, the time of our lives. Time flows, time drags, those kind of things. And he points to this clock and says, you can't change that time. Although I could actually change the clock in his car or whatever it was we were at. But that time doesn't interest me. That time doesn't, the experiential time, the time that's built up in the dukkha experience, the time that's dissolved in that moment, the perception of time is what's interesting, I think. And that's what really matters to us. Not that it's a Tuesday, but that time feels constricted, time feels able to liberate. So coming back to your question, even though I'm kind of running out of time to answer it, the Noble Truths are spoken of as that, because they are the principle by which these teachings lean on. You can place them very centrally. But they're an exploration of how does experience come into being. Yeah. But I would lean much more into the nobling part than the truth part. Yeah. For me personally. Yeah. It's like, this is possible. That's important to know. Yeah, it's possible to understand this experience. It's possible to understand the conditions. It's possible to dissolve those conditions. It's possible to get more free. And where does that end? What would absolute freedom be? Let's explore. Let's see what's possible. So thank you again for that. And I really love that question, Clive. I think it's a really beautiful way of kind of diving into this and questioning that. I doubt it's a translation issue. I expect it's words that the Buddha used. But I just think that framing is really helpful, just to kind of break out of that occasionally and really kind of question, is this useful more than is this true? Okay, much more to explore. So I look forward to seeing you tomorrow, if you can make it. And if not, you can catch up on the recordings, which, if Anicca doesn't grab them, will be there for you. All right, take care.